Mallory here for SB Nation and PrideDetroit.com. It's time to talk about Lions training camp. It begins July 26th. The rookies and injured players have already reported if you're watching this after Monday. And it feels good. After all, there were so many off-the-field disciplinary issues the Lions went through this year. We can finally talk about our boys in Honolulu blue and silver as it pertains to things they do on the field. There's a lot of storylines and training camp battles. We'll get right into it. We'll start off with the offensive line position, particularly offensive tackle. There are 3 players vying for 2 positions. You have Geoff, the newly signed and first-round pick Riley Reiff, and Grassia. Now, Grassia, Riley Reiff, that's going to be a big-time matchup. But we'll start off with Geoff. He has been our left tackle for over a decade. And the chances of him losing that spot this year is very slim. But there's a slight chance that Riley Reiff could step in while everybody at training camp. It carries over to preseason, and he's your starting left tackle with Backus moving to the right. But that's an unlikely scenario. The big battle, though, is going to come at right tackle, where you have Grassia, who, although has started at right tackle for quite some time, he has been suspended by Jim Schwartz because of on-the-field penalties, as well as the occasional ineffective play. He'll be pitted against the rookie, the newcomer Riley Reiff, who showed a lot of promise at OTA. My prediction is that Riley Reiff takes over that spot and is your starting right tackle when the season begins. The next spot is at cornerback. We have a kerfuffle. That's right, a kerfuffle. I can't even hardly say it. But yes, it's a very weird situation at cornerback. Whereas Chris Houston was slotted to start, he's our number 1 guy. That's set in stone. Who's going to be number 2? Aaron Berry was slated to be that guy. He's no longer on the team. He was cut due to disciplinary actions, deservedly so. Goodbye. That leaves it up to some young veterans. Jacob Lacey, a guy who started all 16 with the abysmal Indianapolis Colts last year. Alfonso Smith, whose tenure with the Lions has been up and down. And then there are 2 younger guys. You have Bill Bentley, a high-round draft pick, very skilled. And then Chris Greenwood. Now, he's on the PUP list, so he won't get a chance to really shine during training camp. But of all the cornerbacks, he may be the most physically gifted. Don't rule out the opportunity that we bring in a veteran, either by trade or free agency, a guy like maybe an Andre Goodman who played here before. Moving on to running back, this is an interesting scenario as well. You have Michael Ashore. He's healthy this year, supposedly, but he'll be out the first 2 games, suspended. Then you have Javid, who may be one big hit and concussion away from retiring. And then there's Kevin Smith. When the season begins, Kevin Smith may be the guy getting the lion's share, pun intended, of the carries. And so training camp is going to be interesting. We can't leave out Joy K. Bell. These guys are all vying to get a lion's share of carries. Whereas Javid will carry maybe 10 to 15 times a game. He'll get a few more touches catching the ball. These other running backs are trying to make their mark. It isn't set in stone that Michael Ashore will be the main guy, even when he comes back week 3. If a guy like Kevin Smith or Joy K. Bell can step up now in training camp and into the preseason. At wide receiver, it's another battle, just like the cornerback spot. Who's number 2? Calvin Johnson's number 1. That's a no-brainer. Best receiver in the NFL. So who's going to be the guy that will be getting single coverage almost every play while Calvin is double and triple team? Well, Ryan Broyles, he'll get a chance to vie for that number 2 spot. Not this training camp, though. He's on the PUP list. So it's down to 2 contenders, Titus Young and the incumbent Nate Burleson. Now, Burleson has had a very successful career here so far. 2 seasons with the Lions. Been a very good number 2. Had a good year last year. However, Titus Young is just that. He's young. He's fast. He's exciting. His second half of the season, he really showed why we drafted him so early. So these 2 guys will be pitted against each other. Combined with the fact that Titus Young had a very good OTA session a few months back, he's trying to be the number 2. He doesn't want to be stuck in the slot as the number 3. But Nate Burleson has something to say about that. He's done it. He's done it well. Look for these 2 guys to duke it out, metaphorically speaking, no punching Titus, on the football field, trying to be the main man next to Calvin Johnson. Now, Willie Young. This is a big story, and it's a big off-season now training camp for him. It's time for this young defensive end to speak. He was a 7th-round pick, and now he's heavily in that defensive line rotation. This is a big off-season for him. It was one. Now it's a big training camp coming up for him because of several reasons. There's a lot of potential turnover that's going to be happening on the defensive line in the next season or 2. Kyle Vanden Bosch, he's not getting any younger. he might not be here next year or the year after, or his role will be greatly diminished because of age and a troublesome neck that he's been injured with and bothered with for the last season or so. Then there's Cliff Averill. He signed on franchise one-year deal. He's looking for big bucks. The Lions probably can't provide it. So there's going to be 1 or 2 holes to fill in the defensive end spot. What better way to make a name for yourself and stake your claim than at this training camp? Don't forget Lawrence Jackson's still on the team, so Willie Young has quite a few people to not only move up to be a regular guy in the rotation, but to potentially be a starter if an injury were to happen this year, or because of a guy no longer being here after next year. It all starts here at this training camp. He's shown he can go after the quarterback, but can he be stout or at least serviceable against the run? If he can, look for him to make a lot of waves and see his name and number called quite a bit during this season. Guys, that's going to do it. Leave your comments. Do you agree or disagree with some of these big stories? Who do you predict will be taking some of these top spots? Who are some players you want to see step up? Who are some players you want to see out of here? Leave all those comments in the comment section below. Subscribe. You know what to do. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. And as always, this has been Jerry Mallory for SB Nation and PrivateDetroit.com.